Hey guys, the weather is finally starting to warm up here in southeastern Wisconsin, so I got out to do a little scouting a couple days ago. My biggest project this year, besides the birth of my second child, is to establish a food plot and stand location on a piece of property here in southeastern Wisconsin. I'll be bringing you several videos on the creation of that as I attempt to prepare it for the fall hunting season. Then I'll bring you with as I attempt to harvest a deer off of that plot. There's still a few inches of snow on the ground, but the forecast is calling for 60-degree weather and rain, so I should be able to get to work here pretty soon. I'm standing where the future stand is going to get built. Out here is where I'm going to put in the food plot. It's going to be about 2/3 to 3/4 of an acre. It's going to be surrounded in switchgrass. So this is going to look a lot different once I work on it. Right now we're just waiting for all of the snow to melt so we can get to work. There's some cleanup to be done out here. This used to be a paintball field, so there's a lot of debris still laying out here. Nails and such that I want to pick up. I bought a magnet sweeper I'm going to go over this with so I don't get flat tires when I'm cultivating it with the four-wheeler. I want to rip out a lot of these little scrub brush bushes here, open it up a bit. The lining of switchgrass is what's going to really make this a nice little secure area. The deer will feel really safe in here. And then where I'm standing right in front here, this will also all be switchgrass to keep them immediately away from the stand and to keep me hidden when I walk up to the stand. I'm also going to cover the area I walk in on behind me here with switchgrass, and there's actually a trench here, so I picked this location. This is a trench that drains water through this hill so that the chicken coops over there don't get flooded. But I'm actually going to cover this entire area on both sides with switchgrass and then put up some fencing about 6-7 feet tall from the bottom of the trench. It'll create a tunnel when the switchgrass grows and bends over. So I'll effectively walk in through a tunnel from the other side of these white pines here, through the tunnel all the way down here, and then I'll climb up a ladder into a box stand, and it'll look out a window out onto the plot here. So ideally, if I can get into it quietly enough and they don't scent me, and I'm hoping that they won't with me walking in through the tunnel like that, I could effectively walk out, get into the stand while deer are actually on this plot. And if I can do that and not spook deer out of here, this is going to be a very successful stand. I was out here doing a little scouting, a little shed hunting maybe if I find any, and I stumbled across a couple deer. I kicked them out of their beds. I had no idea they bedded down in this area. This is about 50 yards from where I want to build the plot, maybe another 100 yards where the stand actually is. And I didn't think they bedded down in here because this is kind of swampy in this area. I definitely knew they moved through here. It's kind of thick brush, so I was thinking maybe some antlers got knocked off in here. It may be different in the summer or in the fall once the snow's melted. This might be a little too wet for them to bed down in, but it's a really good sign if I can get them to bed down in here. Only 50 yards from the plot, I'll hold the does this close. That means the bucks, they'll stay a little further away. That means they don't have as much room to move before they get to the plot. So if they don't start moving, they always move slower than the does, more cautiously. So the less distance they have to travel, the better. If you want to see them before shooting time's up. So that's really good for me here. We'll see if this continues on throughout the summer and the fall though. But here's the beds. There's actually 2 more beds a little further away. I didn't see these when they moved. But I do know that there's a doe family group with 5 baldies in it that hang out here quite often. It's possible that this is that group. You can't see it, but like through here is where the plot's going to be in the future. There's a creek here that they'd have to cross to get to, but right over there, as soon as this gets into the clearing, that's where the plot is going to be. There's just a ton of deer sign in here too. There's a lot of hair right here. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but there's a ton of deer activity. And again, we're just 50 yards from where the plot is going to get built this summer. We have what's left of a coyote kill right here. They don't leave much. They pretty much eat everything. They eat a lot of the hair too, if you've ever seen their droppings. It's a good thing they're probably going after the rabbits than the deer though. So I know the deer bed down over here where I'm headed. I'm going to see if I can get any shots of them coming out of there. It's not that bad to bust them in March, as whatever patterns they're running right now is not what they're going to be running in the fall. If you want to wander around in parts of the woods that you normally don't, this is definitely the time of year to do it. But they're just up ahead here, so I'll see if I can get some shots of them. I think that might be where that other group of 5 went. When we talk about ideal deer bedding, this is natural, this isn't man-made, but this is the kind of stuff you're looking for. This is probably not going to show up too great because it is just so thick in here, but this is where the deer are going to bed down. There's a couple of beds right here. Right there's one. There's another one right there. But this thick stuff, this is exactly what you're looking for. And ideally you want this as close to your stand as it can be without you spooking the deer out of here when you get in and out of your stand. If you do that, it's game over. You're not going to see them again. But the closer they are, the more likely you're going to see them before it gets dark out. There's some more beds here. You can tell by the size of these ones that they've actually used these ones multiple times. Again, we're maybe 100 and 150 yards to the stand location in this direction. If we come over here off this, through the woods here a little bit, you can see here's their highway that heads straight towards that stand location. So again, it's real good that they're bedding down this close. Ideally you're going to get the bucks to come in there then too, because the bucks won't bed down with the does, always stay off a little bit away from them. But the closer your does are bedded down, the closer your bucks will be bedded down, and more likely you are to see them during shooting hours. I'll just do a quick tutorial on trail cam setup. I put mine about waist high off the ground. This one is about that high. Where it's aimed though is downhill. Like as you look this way, it kind of drops off down into the marsh. The deer come through here on a couple different trails. That's why I have it set up how it is. Hopefully it'll take pictures of anything that moves through this little opening in here. I know some people put them higher up and then face them down because they say that the deer see them, and that might be true. I've never really tried that. I do know that you want to make sure you put them on something that's at least as thick as they are. So you can see I have this 2x4 here, pretty much just because I didn't have too many other options for trees in the area. There's all these little bushes. But you also want to have some sort of cover behind it. So I wouldn't want to put this 2x4 just out in the middle of the field. That's why this bush is behind it, to sort of give it a little bit of cover. The deer are still curious, though. I have pictures of them walking right up and sniffing it. But I do know that the bigger bucks might be a little bit more cautious with them and might avoid them. I do have pictures of big bucks on cameras that are hung like this, though. So yeah, it might pay off to put them higher up and face them down. I've just never done that. This has always worked for me. I may at some point try it that other way and see what happens, but for now this is how I have this one. It's just going to sit here through the spring into the summer till the batteries die probably, and just see what we have in the area. It's in a nice high traffic spot that a lot of deer come through, so even without a food plot or food source, this is sort of a natural funnel that comes through here, so I'll get some decent pictures of deer, just to get an idea of what's in the area. Obviously the bucks are going to drop their antlers, so it's going to be a little harder to tell which bucks are coming through, but get an idea if there's big deer still coming through here, how many, how big the family groups are, things of that nature.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm really excited to see what this year brings. I've never built a plot this big or complex before in regards to bordering it with switchgrass and creating a tunnel out of that switchgrass, so I'm really eager to see how that turns out. I know the switchgrass will only grow about 3 to 4 feet this year, but then up to as much as 10 to 12 feet in the year or two to come. So I really just need to help it get established this year so it really takes off over the next couple of seasons. With this being a first year food plot, my other challenge will be to wipe out the existing vegetation so that it doesn't compete with my food crop. My plan is to plant buckwheat in the spring, which acts as a great cover crop and competes well with other vegetation. Deer will eat buckwheat, but the deer in this area may not be familiar with it, so we'll have to see how that goes. The mix of switchgrass and buckwheat is also really good for other wildlife like turkeys, rabbits, and pheasants that may be in the area. Around August 1st, I'm going to knock down the buckwheat, spray it, and then plant a fall forage mix, most likely brassicas. The buckwheat will act as a great fertilizer and starting cover for the brassicas as they get established. The brassicas are much more cold weather tolerant, and they'll stay green until they're the only thing green left in the woods. That, of course, is going to be a great attraction for every deer in the area right during hunting season. So stay tuned, and we'll see how well these plans come to fruition a few months from now.